Welcome to Logiqon Talking Tech, the show about the future of workplace technology. From retail to logistics to warehousing, we break down how innovations like RFID are transforming operations. I'm Simon Weil. Let's get started. This episode is brought to you by Logiqon Tech, your partner in smarter retail and workplace technology. Learn more at logiqon.com.au. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us again on Logiqon Talking Tech. Today I'm joined by Peter Jones from Landpower, and today we're going to be discussing Peter's 40-plus year career with Landpower, his journey through parts management within the business, some of the projects that Landpower has done with Logiqon, and his plans for the future beyond Landpower. Peter, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me along.
Pleasure to have you. Look, the biggest thing I can start with is 40-plus years in a business for anyone is an incredible achievement. Tell us how you got started with Landpower.
Good question. So it was a very long time ago, obviously. We, I suppose, grew up in an agricultural area, so there was lots of farms. My parents weren't actually farmers, but we had lots of relatives that were farmers. Opportunity came up to join the business at that stage in the spare parts side of the business after school, actually, originally. So
Right.
I went there after school for a couple of hours a day. And we sort of stopped from there, and then I came back as working in the parts department in the farm machinery business, and it just grew from there. I found the area that best suited me, really, within that business. So,
Yeah, I think for anyone to stick out in a single business and vertical within that business for 40 years, you must, have a deep attachment to it.
yeah, there's certainly a passion, I suppose, for the industry. My in-laws are dairy farmers, still on the farms today. I've done many roles within the business, and I suppose the big thing is that the businesses continue to grow and develop. So we're always looking for the next opportunity. How do we get better, smarter, faster? How do we improve? And it's been a really good journey to be part of that process.
Fantastic. And so you mentioned the business has been growing. Where was it when you joined and where is it now?
When I first joined, we had 3 locations in New Zealand. I think we probably had around 30 employees in total. So it was quite small. It had come from fairly humble beginnings. Today, we are across New Zealand and Australia. We employ up to between 450 and 500 people across the industry. We're both in a wholesale capacity, so importing, distributing, and we have retail dealerships as well, so serving customers right through to the farmer. So it's grown from a very small business, which was bringing a few bits of equipment, right through to now being quite a large scale operation.
Fantastic. We love a homegrown growth story.
Yeah, it's really nice to be. I suppose when I first came to Australia, we were still relatively small. So I moved over here in 1997, and it was really humble beginnings. We had a little wee warehouse off the back of a street down in Sunshine. We've shifted 3 times since then, so the business keeps growing outgrowing its premises, and it's been a really good, enjoyable journey to be involved with that.
Fantastic. And look, growing out of your premises is a good problem to have. How have you seen sort of technology within the business change over your career? I imagine it's diverse and storied.
Well, yes. I mean, I suppose when I first started, there wasn't any technology. It was we had streams and streams of paper, carbon copied books. Parts catalogues were what they called microfiche, so it was a
Oh,
little
yeah.
plastic film that you put into a machine to try to look things up. And then it's slowly progressed into having computers. Very early basic PCs initially, and then obviously as the business grew, having technology partners was really important for us. The owner of the business that I work for is very technology focused. He's always wanting to invest in programs that can help us develop and grow, and whether that's hardware, software, or equipment. So that's been quite enjoyable to be part of that, because there's never been any restrictions around trying to how do we actually become a better and faster organisation.
That's great that your sort of business has a growth mindset and you're not sort of fighting against the grain to get a new technology or adopt a new process or feature. That's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we're growing to be quite a reasonable sized company, but we are still we have this small, agile approach to how we operate. It's hard the bigger become, but the ability to react very differently to how things are trending in the industry is really important. And that's been our mindset, is that we can do things differently. We don't have to be the same as the opposition or the bigger companies we're competing against. And in a number of areas, we are different. We actually do things quite differently, so that we can capitalise on our skills and our benefits that we have against opposition companies.
Yeah, you've got to be agile in business and adapt and overcome and seize opportunities where they come. So it sounds like you're well positioned to do so. And I guess over the years, you've moved from paper to microfiche to computers, now to touch computers. I think before this podcast started, we were talking about robots. What a journey. What is sort of on the horizon next?
I suppose, if you talk about the agricultural industry, it's evolving and growing a lot. The introduction around autonomy is something that's relatively interesting at the industry at the moment. It's going to take a bit of time to really evolve when it comes to how farmers are actually using autonomy. I think technology is absolutely a journey that has been in the industry for a long time. So auto guidance systems, self-tracking equipment, etc., in fields has been around for quite some time. Australia's been one of the early adopters, and in some cases developing some of that software. For the actual business, moving away from pen and paper to having automated forecasting systems that are providing us really good up-to-date information about what we should have, where we should have it, and how to get it there is a big change in how we've developed. And then moving to how we operate smarter in the warehouse. So having RF scanning capabilities, which we have done in our wholesale locations for the best part of 20 years, but over the last couple of years we've now rolled it out to all of our retail network too. So now we're seeing that technology being uptaken across the whole network, which gets us to a point where we've got consistency and process everywhere.
And that consistency drives results, right? Where you're not having to deal with, well, these people operate like this and this warehouse operates like that. You've got a nice, harmonious system that operates the same across the network, and you can troubleshoot and support nicely.
Absolutely. One of our key differences is that we run a ERP software program across all locations. So our company-owned wholesale distribution centres, our company-owned retail outlets, and a number of the privately owned retail outlets are also using our software. So it gives us full transparency across the entire network. So I can see every part, everywhere across both countries. I know exactly where the demand is, where the issues are, what do we need to react if we've got some issues we need to address across the network. So having that consistency across the group is really, really important. And the way we actually operate is, as far as from a retail perspective, we need to have consistency so that you understand exactly what is going on. We have really good reporting too. So if there's something going on, something going wrong, we want to be able to see that and address it in a fast manner. So having, I suppose, a number of these things in place that helps us to achieve a really good result.
Peter, you and Logiqon have done a number of projects together over the years, and it's been great to assist your business with its growth journey. What first brought you? What first brought us together? What were some of the challenges you were having?
We were looking for a partner that could provide us initially with hardware. We wanted to improve the quality of our RF scanning equipment we had in our wholesale locations, but also look to how we could find a suitable product for our retail network as well. So it was about nearly 5 years ago now. I first made contact with a company, and we started down the journey of talking about RF equipment for our wholesale locations, and then the business has developed from there.
Fantastic. And look, 5 years is a long time in business, so thank you for your loyalty and long-term business. I think with those handhelds, that we did a project around screen modernization, making old programs look like new programs. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it went?
Sure. So we've been using our basic scanning logic in our wholesale locations for many years, using native mode or green screen. Knowing that we were planning to roll it out to our retail network, where we have a higher staff turnover, what tends to be a younger generation of people operating our retail network, we knew that there'd be some resistance using green screen.
Yep.
So the idea of actually having something that is a lot more user-friendly, intuitive, straightforward, that guides the user to the processes we want them to process and use was a desire in our business from day one. So when we initially spoke to the business, we talked about, this is what we want to do. We want to we want to roll out RF scanning, but we're really concerned around how that's going to be received in the retail network. And that's where the Chris has come along and said, look, we have these options to go around on-screen modernisation. So it started from an idea around how do we actually improve the performance in the retail network through to getting a program which is very user-friendly, very intuitive, and we've got consistency in how it's being operated across both countries.
And that's been well received throughout the business. You mentioned younger generation of people liking their apps. It's gone well.
Absolutely. I mean, we wanted to. There was a fair bit of time went into developing the basic core program in the background to start with. So we wanted to make sure that the programs were fairly straightforward and generic. And then by modernising them, the view and the feel and the look of how it actually operated, it made the users a lot more comfortable. So not only the young generation, but the older people in the network too, because it's fairly straightforward. And it's just some of the logical things we did around, large icons and buttons to press instead of having to scroll, that sort of thing that made it comfortable for all users to utilise. That it's been accepted really, really well.
Oh, fantastic. And are you planning to update that again in the future or move to a different program? What do you see in the future of that space?
We want to keep developing the core program in the background. So at the moment, we've got a menu of options that we can do today, but we're looking at adding to those functions to give them more capacity to speed up operations. So the ability to sell from a mobile device, which we don't have today. So historically, the program where it is today is really around the back end of the business. So the small warehouse, the inwards goods processing and bin locations, those sorts of functionalities. We want to move forward about how do we then start to utilise it to sell, to move forward to upsell, to speed up the front end of the business.
Yeah, right. Well, good news is we have some fantastic hardware that will enable that, including taking a payment on a mobile computer. So I'm sure we'll have a further conversation about that.
Sounds great.
Peter, our last episode was actually all about Wi-Fi in warehouses and enterprise and why it's a little bit different to Wi-Fi at home. We've done some Wi-Fi projects together. One of our Wi-Fi engineers has been to your sites and scoped it out. Tell us how that got started and where it ended up.
Sure. So when we went down the road of trying to put in RF scanning functionality to our retail network, Chris made the time to come and actually visit one of our locations and understand how our business operated, not only from a device perspective, but what we quickly realised is from a Wi-Fi perspective as well. So we understood that putting out scanners wasn't going to be the fix for everything. We had to broaden the project to include the Wi-Fi capability in our retail dealerships, and we have dealerships across both countries, and most of our locations are very rural, so well and a long way away from capital cities. So they come on site, we looked at the actual location. This particular dealership we went to is over multiple buildings, even a shipping container.
Right.
So we looked at how do we best provided the coverage that the dealership needed, and Chris came up with a plan around that. Which consisted in a number of different devices. So it wasn't just a basic access point. There was actually point-to-point configuration so that we could actually move from one building to the other, etc. as well. It was a really interesting project to learn. I learned a lot around Wi-Fi that I never knew I needed to know. Particularly around products and the capability within different products too. So like you said, it's not just a home device. There's actually a lot more involved. We have many devices that we're connecting to our Wi-Fi. So whether it's the RF scanners or mobile phones or laptops or diagnostic equipment within the dealerships or iPads that we're using for selling, etc., by our salespeople. So there's many devices we have, and having the ability to then understand, well, how do you best structure the Wi-Fi network to support each requirement of each device? So the bandwidth that's required for different programs was really, really important. So good journey. It was really good to be taken through that and to get to a really good outcome. That we've got a network that really suits the industry quite well.
Fantastic. And with Wi-Fi being such a foundational piece of business, you mentioned you've got laptops, mobile computers, mobile phones, everything on it. It must be fairly important having great Wi-Fi wherever you go.
Absolutely. I mean, I suppose it's a bit like air today, isn't it? You come to the point where you can't do without it.
Yes.
And we've basically replicated that same logic across both countries. So our whole the way all of our devices actually operate, each type of device has its own login credentials, so that we don't have people crossing over and you can't go and connect to a bandwidth that you're not set up for that device.
Right.
And it's working really, really well.
Peter, so after the Wi-Fi design was done, what were the next steps to getting it implemented in your locations?
So the quote was provided with information of what we require to provide the level of coverage and technology we needed. There was a bit of background work on setting up the software to operate the program, and then there was a team of people who actually went to on site to then install and deploy the programs and the software and the hardware. That made a really good project to be involved with, because it helped me to understand a lot more around what we needed to do as a business. But I think it also provided some information around understanding our unique industry.
Yes.
Sometimes we can have a nice, easy access point, and then we go and park a whopping great tractor in front of it, can cause some obstructions and some issues. So, understanding a little bit about the constraints in our industry and the environments that we're operating in, because agricultural industry can be pretty dusty and dirty sometimes as well.
Absolutely.
So devices have to be fairly robust and rugged to handle those conditions. So that worked really, really well.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, look, there's not many industries where you would park a whopping great tractor in front of an access point, but I can imagine that provides a learning opportunity for future deployments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Peter, Landpower uses predominantly Zebra devices. Can you tell us how your selection process went and why you've decided to use those devices?
Sure. So initially in our wholesale locations, we had Zebra devices going back from 20 years ago. So they're running, I think, Windows CE software. So
Yeah, wow.
it's very old technology. When we looked at upgrading, we wanted to, I suppose, understand what technology was out there. Has there been advances in different products out there? So I contacted Chris and said, "Look, this is what we're trying to achieve. What are our options?" So Chris managed to get some different devices for us from different manufacturers. We put them in the hands of our people that were actually using devices. So it just wasn't me sitting in an office saying, "I think this one looks nice and it's the best price."
Great.
It was actually user experience that we counted on. And the feedback off that is how we decided on to run with the Zebra hardware. I think it's, from my perspective, it's a recognised brand. It's been around for a long time and it's got a good reputation. And our experience in using the old devices was quite solid and good as well.
Yeah, they certainly have a robust and lengthy history behind them, and I keep coming across devices that have well exceeded their supposed shelf life. If you've had something for 20 years and it's still working, of course you'd want to stick with it.
Yep, yep. They've been really, really good. I mean, even the old devices are still sitting in the warehouse there as a backup if we ever have a problem. But the reliability of the new devices we have today has been really, really good.
Fantastic. And is it principally touch computers that you're using for operations and barcode scanning? Is there any other particular equipment that you're using or depending on?
Because we've got both a wholesale distribution centres and then retail outlets, so we've got a couple of different devices we're using. In our wholesale locations, we are using both the MC9300, so the larger device with a physical keyboard. We also have the TC series as well, where we've got, in some cases, we've got them paired with ring scanners too, to make it a little bit more user-friendly for the actual people. We've just got some more in order because the success has been quite good, so we've got some more coming. And in our retail network, it's all predominantly the TC series, so the smaller devices that basically can be carried around easily in a pocket.
Yeah, right. So for attending a customer on the floor, it's easy to pull one out and look something up.
Yep. We have, I suppose, maybe gone heavy on accessories, so they're all covered. They're all sitting in rubber boots. They've all got trigger handles with them as well. We've gone with the care packages too to make sure the devices are well looked after. I suppose the smaller devices are more sort of geared towards the retail industry, and we're a little bit unsure about how that would go in our industry because they can be pretty dusty, dirty conditions, and we were a bit unsure. So we wanted to make sure that we had the right support around those devices, which Chris helped us to organise too. And so far they've been really reliable.
Oh,
So I've been
fantastic.
very happy with the outcome.
Oh, great. And yeah, the rubber boot's going a long way to help the longevity. I think most of the devices now have an IP. Pretty sure it's a 57 rating, which is a dustproof rating, so that should help in that space as well. Um, is there anything on the wish list that you'd like from your next generation of devices?
Good question. I suppose the limitation comes down to the software. I think there's lots of scope in hardware. It's about what software that you've got that you can utilize to maximize. So, the ability to look at things like, glasses with images that are providing and so on. I think they all have absolutely, there's some potential there. But for our business, probably the limitation is what software that we've got to run that. So whatever we have, it needs to integrate to what we've got today with our software. And that will be the challenge, is our limitations around that. But yeah, I think there's more and more mobile devices. I think I can see that's doing more and more of that. Mobile printers as well too. So barcode label printing on the go, but ones that are thermal transfer, not just so they do permanent labels.
Yep.
There's things like that we'd like to see, I suppose, down the track.
Right. Well, there's always new and exciting things coming out, and we'll make sure we keep you informed.
Great stuff. Excellent. Thank you.
Peter, you've got a unique business at Landpower, retail, warehouse, outside, inside, dusty, a little bit rugged. How do you manage getting the balance right between sort of innovation and reliability with technology in the business?
Good question. I suppose our wholesale locations are quite different to our retail. Our wholesale locations are very much like a DC. So it's a fairly clean environment that I suppose allows us to operate devices without too much concern around the dusty environment. Retail stores is quite different though. We have locations that are quite clean to ones that are sitting in far-flung places in Western Australia, which are very dry, dusty conditions. So there's always a challenge in trying to keep the devices as clean as possible, and this is where I suppose the decision on getting the right hardware that suits that industry is really important. Big thing for us is culture.
Right.
We've put a lot of effort into culture within our business, so we've got a whole group of people that really care about what they do, and they want to make sure that things are right. Our accuracy and integrity in our data and information is really, really good. And it's because we have a good culture. We don't have the best systems. We have good reasonable systems, but not the best. But what we do have is people that care and want things to be right. If we're showing the last of a single part somewhere in Australia and someone wants it, there needs to be a level of confidence that it's there.
Absolutely.
So that's where it's really important. The culture side of it is that if something's not right, if there's a problem somewhere in the systems or the stock or what have you, our staff are motivated to actually do something about fixing it. And that comes down to actually how they care for their work environment too. So it's not always not always ideal, easy to keep things tidy, but certainly if you've got the ability to at least try to keep the environment where you've got your devices and your technology as clean as they can be, then that actually helps a lot, obviously.
Right. And you just mentioned data integrity there being culturally valued. I suppose having the right technology to enable that is going a long way. You mentioned the super remote locations. If a part's not there that's meant to be there, I can imagine that causes some pretty significant challenges.
Yep, it does. Working with our logistics partners is really, really important to us. I mean, we're only ever as good as the last parcel that went out the door. So the expectations from our customer base is extremely high. We put a lot of effort into trying to have the right piece at the right place at the right time. But we can't carry everything in every location. So there is limitations, obviously, from a financial perspective, but also physical dimensions and sizes and so on too. So having a really good relationship with our logistics partners allows us to react really quickly. We air freight a lot of parts into both New Zealand and Australia. So we air freight both into Melbourne and into Perth in Australia and into Christchurch every week. We have an extremely good partnership with our freight forwarders out of Germany, where our major suppliers are. With the airline that carries our goods, we've changed freight forwarders, I think, 4 times the last 15 years, but we've stayed with the same airline.
Okay.
So having reliability in the services that you're providing is really, really important. And we've got really good partners within Australia too, so we can react really quickly and service our customers in a really timely manner. But ultimately, what we're trying to achieve is having as high as possible availability at the coalface where the dealership is. Um, Always room for improvement. We're always trying to find things we can do better. But I think we're in a good place today where we are, but we can certainly keep improving from where we are.
And you mentioned you can't have every part in every location. What's the biggest piece of part that you've had to ship somewhere?
We carry everything from 1 cent washers up to $150,000 engines.
Right.
Um, we actually flew one out last week from Germany. So we had one sitting in Germany with our name on it, ready to go. We'd sold one 3 weeks prior, so it's about 114 days from date of order to date of receipt to bring something out on a ship. So we had another engine sitting in Germany ready to go. We just didn't know where we needed it.
Right.
So once we knew where we needed it, we got onto our forwarders and said, right, get it to us here into Melbourne. And we flew that out here and had it here, within a few days, and that was back in the machine. I think it arrived on a Friday morning. By Saturday afternoon, that machine was working in the field in the Western
Wow.
District again there. So yeah, everything from the tiniest little parts right through to really big expensive items. So yeah, there's a lot of product we carry.
Yeah. Wow. Like you just said that I think it was 114 days by sea freight. So yeah, getting that on a plane, obviously a massive time saving, and that time is money in agriculture. You can't wait for 114 days to get something up and running again.
No, no. I mean, farmers, it's their livelihood. It's not a job. So they, for them, when they are broken down, their world stops. So we have to do everything we can to support those customers and get them operational quickly as possible. Every machine, every brand is going to have some problems. They're all going to break down at some point in time. It's how we react as a business, and what we put in place to support them is the critical part there. So that's why it's really important to have really good relationships with our logistics partners. So we place orders to our suppliers in Germany on a Thursday, and they'll be in our Melbourne warehouse on a Monday morning.
It's incredible.
So there's a lot of effort goes into making that work, and having really good relationships with our suppliers. So those are the sorts of things that I suppose are our point of difference. But as a business, we actually do some really cool things every day,
Yep.
and it just becomes natural for us. I mean, most DCs in Melbourne, as an example, they tend to start early and finish early. We're the complete opposite, because farmers don't start working at 6 o'clock in the morning. They might start harvesting at 2 in the afternoon. So
Right.
they don't break down until 4 or 5 or whatever time it is. So we need the ability to react quickly late in the day, and work
Okay.
to get the product out the door to the farmer quite quickly. So little things like that we do allows us to be a little bit different and to support our customers.
Customer knowledge is important for finding the right fit for your business. Take me back. We're talking at the moment, 2025, we're doing overnight flight from Germany or bringing in products, but I imagine 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't the norm. So how has the evolution of logistics changed the business and the technology along with that?
I suppose the obvious one is information. So there's a lot more access to understanding exactly where your consignment is. So from point of collection to on the truck to the airport to cleared through the airport to it's on the flight to its destination. So there's a lot more information around exactly where that is, and the speed in which companies can react has improved a lot. Volume, obviously prices can be driven down, but it doesn't necessarily always reflect that when it comes to air freight. So air
Right.
freight is a very expensive option. So sea freight is by far the preferred option.
Yep.
But we can't have everything everywhere, and sometimes you're going to have a run on something that you can't predict. So we have to have the ability to react and react quickly. So that I suppose when you compare, we would tend to have 2 or 3 sea freight consignments a year that would cover you for an extended period. Now we unload 2 40-foot containers every week and through our
Right.
Melbourne DC. So there's a vast change in the way we think about and how we manage international cargo. So having that stuff flowing all the time and having the structure in place to allow that to operate really quickly is part of this journey that we've been on, from being really simple basic operation to now moving into not quite just in time, but certainly we want to make sure that we've got as much as we possibly can at the right place.
Right. So it's faster information, more visibility of where things are at. That's improved over time with the changes.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, the airlines, I mean, planes change as well, obviously. So some carriers have dedicated freight planes, others do not. Sometimes our componentry is too big to go on a passenger plane. So sometimes there's a lot of juggling around how do we best support that. So there's agreements that we have in place with our forwarders to move cargo, whether it's sea freight on a container, whether it's roll on, roll off, which a lot of our big equipment is, or whether it's air freight consignments. It's not uncommon for us to be air freighting 2 to 3 tons a week into Melbourne, so it's a significant volume that we're putting through, and it's a significant cost.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's all about customer service. So how do we provide that best customer service? Sometimes it's a part that someone needs, and sometimes you know that you're running low and you cannot wait for a part to come on sea freight. Our forecasting system allows us to predict that. We can see potential stock out, so we can see where there's potentially going to be a pending issue. So we can react to that in a manner which allows us to get more stock in before we do get to a stock out situation. So there's many parts to balancing this to get it right. And when you're dealing with such large volumes of product, I mean, our product range is massive. We have everything from hay mowers to combine harvesters to tractors, potato harvesters, carrot harvesters, forage harvesters, round balers, telescopic loaders. The product range is very, very large that we look after.
So all the parts to support all of those machines.
Exactly. We're carrying around 34,000 lines in the Melbourne distribution centre, similar number in Christchurch as well. And as we bring on more and more products, of course, there's a whole suite of product parts that you need to carry to support them too. So it's a challenge that we're keeping on top of all that, but it's something that it's absolutely critical that we have the right parts to support the machines.
Excellent. And over your time in Landpower, Australia's been through a lot of changes. There's been talk about changing climate. Have you noticed, I guess, over the last 10, 20, 30 years, the kind of parts that break or the trends of parts that happen with disasters or climate?
One of the first things I noticed when I moved from New Zealand to Australia is I was I suppose aware of what wears on machines in New Zealand, and I took that approach and thought, right, I need to make sure I cater for that component in Australia, and I got it wrong.
Right.
So the environment that our machines are operating in Australia is very different to New Zealand. It's a lot drier, obviously, and the product and the grass that's growing is different.
Right.
If you think about cereal grains, the tonnages per hectare is a lot lower. Machines are getting bigger and bigger, so they tend to drive a lot faster. So then, therefore, you can have a more potential for impact on trees or poles or whatever obstacles in the ground. So we've seen a significant change as the industry, I suppose, is evolving and growing. All the machines that we sell today is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
That allows the farmers to obviously increase their harvest capacity. But it does mean that we've now got bigger machines that we're trying to maintain and operate as well. So the componentry that we sell to support those has evolved and changed. Everything that we hold now is bigger than what it was 20 years ago. So the scope and the size of the warehouse and the componentry we're holding is significantly changed.
Okay, much like everything around us, cars, machinery getting bigger, phones and devices are getting smaller.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it is interesting when you think about it that way. I mean, the industry is evolving in all sorts of different areas, around drone technology for spraying and autonomy, and there's a lot of technology in our equipment today. So I suppose it'll continue to evolve, and that's one of the interesting things of the agriculture industry is that it's never set and forget. There's always a new idea or a new concept, or a manufacturer's coming out with a new machine to cater for a particular need, and that's what keeps it interesting. It's not just not just a basic a machine on 4 wheels. We have that, but we have a lot of other things as well.
Right, and I guess that's what's kept it interesting over your time at Landpower, the continuous evolution of equipment and the changes within.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about what it was like, when I first started, it was very, very basic on pen and paper. To where we are today, the journey has been quite enjoyable because we've continued to grow. There's times where businesses, depending on climatic conditions in the ag industry, will plateau. In some cases, they'll go backwards. For our industry or for our business, we've tended to grow. Occasionally, things slow down a little bit, but the business has gone from strength to strength over many, many years. The ownership of the business is very focused. He was a farmer.
Hmm.
Started off on the land as such. He was a potato farmer, and he's very focused around how do we support farmers to succeed in what they're doing. And we put a lot of effort in being in it together with them. We want to be able to support them to make sure that they can do a great job of what they're trying to achieve. So it has evolved a lot.
Fantastic. And great that you have a leader who has that hands-on experience to know what it's like, hands in the dirt.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, he started, growing potatoes and was struggling to find a harvester to dig the potatoes. So he went searching and found a potato harvester out of Germany and started importing them into New Zealand. And that's how the farm machinery business started.
Yeah,
So it
right.
was in the potato industry. Now we cater many sectors of the agriculture industry, but it's having that background and that knowledge and passion
Yep.
for the industry is really, really important.
Peter, you've been with Landpower for over 40 years now. That's a lengthy and storied career. As you're headed off to retirement next year, you must have some feelings about it. You must have some memories that you look back on that you're proud of. How's it all going with planning for the future and your retirement?
Yep. So we've got plans for the future. My wife and I have got some ideas of things we want to do. There's always the wish list for everyone is do some travel. We've got some other things that we're looking at doing as well on enjoying the next period of our life. So we want to see how that develops. It's going to be quite a culture shock for me.
Yeah.
Everyone tells me that women retire quite well and men don't. So I don't know how that's going to go.
You got to have something to do.
Got to have something to do. That's it. I've offered to the company to be involved in project work moving forward. So stepping down from my role of what I'm doing today, but still have the opportunity to assist the business where they see that I've got some skills that can be a benefit to them. So not switching off completely, but it will be a step away. So I think the important thing for us is that we never know what's around the corner. My wife and I both had some health challenges along the journey, so we want to make the most of the opportunity while we can, and while we're still fit and young and healthy. Live life to the max. Live the best lives we can for the next at least the next 10 years anyway.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, so much to look forward to with the time and flexibility to go where you want and do what you want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. But still keep a finger in the pie and maybe help out Landpower occasionally if they need some help.
I think just cutting you off cold turkey might be a bit hard. So I'm glad you've got the opportunity to stay in touch and do a little bit of work here and there.
Yep. Good stuff.
And look, if you had to pick out a single thing, can you pick out a single thing that you're most proud of?
When I first came across to Australia, which was in late 1997, it was a very, very small business. We had maybe 10 employees, and we were starting with a brand that I knew quite well in New Zealand, and it was here in Australia, but it was imported through another company. So we basically had to start from scratch, and being part of that journey to actually help the business grow and develop. Over that journey to where it is today has been a really enjoyable time, I suppose, in being involved with that. My area obviously is the parts side of the business, so helping and grow and develop that too. I mean, I've always been someone that wants to help customers. When you've got a customer that's broken down and they need some componentry, need some advice, they need to get going. Having the ability to help that customer so that they can get up and going again is where I get the buzz. Is how I get fulfillment in what I'm doing. It's nothing worse than when you can't help a customer. That's frustrating. But luckily, most times we can do something to get everyone going. So that's a really enjoyable piece of what I do.
And is there anything you're not going to miss?
The late night calls with Germany, the call outs on weekends, traveling on weekends, either going to away somewhere or coming back from a dealer visit. That sort of thing that can be quite taxing. Sometimes people think about the travel. It must be nice, but when you're sitting in a hotel room every night on your own,
Yep.
That can get quite boring.
I think people who say that haven't done a lot of travel for business.
Yeah. So that side of it, I suppose, I won't miss that. But yeah, obviously, the big thing is people. I've been lucky to have a really good team of people around me. The company has got lots of good people in the business. They make the business. We're all about people in reality. Whether you're selling a green or a red or an orange or a brown product,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about the people at the end of the day that provide the service to the customers. So having good people that we work with is really important, and the team that I've helped grow and develop over many years. I'm fairly confident that they're going to do a great job going forward. We've tried to give them as many skills as they can to develop, and we've taken the business to a certain. Well, I've been involved in taking the business to a certain stage, and now the potential is out there to keep growing. So I think that's going to be really good for the company and the team.
That's awesome. So you'll get so much of your time back. I'm very familiar with traveling for business and those late night calls. So I'm thrilled that you will have that personal time back.
Great stuff.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure getting to hear your story about your career through Landpower and really understand how different that business is. And I'm glad we've been able to assist you at least part of the way.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us today on Logiqon Talking Tech. It's been a pleasure to have Peter from Landpower here discussing their business, what makes it unique, and how Logicon's been able to support them and their growth throughout the journey. Please subscribe and follow our channel and to stay up to date with our content. And we look forward to having you again soon. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time as we continue exploring the future of workplace technology.